Top Tier Show.
Okay, guys, we're back with another episode of the Top Tier Show. We're talking about a pretty exciting movie this week. The biggest movie possibly of the summer, disputably and undisputably, depending on which side of the fence you're on. But we're going to be talking about Wonder Woman. And I'm pretty excited for this movie. But before we get into it, again, I'm joined by my co-host, Samuel Garcia. Say what's up, Sammy.
How you doing, everybody? And just to let you know, I lost a bet to
Yes.
Roger, which sucks. He predicted that Wonder Woman would make over 100 grand opening weekend. I didn't think that was possible.
I didn't.
I mean, 100 million.
But to be fair, I didn't even predict. I kind of just guessed, and
You were like,
and I threw like I was. It was just wishful thinking, and it ended up panning out my way. So
Right.
yeah, but
we'll talk about why that is.
yeah, we'll talk about why that is. As far as the movie goes, so just this is a very important movie. For many reasons, because depending on what your outlook or your thought of the previous two movies in the DC extended universe, Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad, and also starting off what started off was Man of Steel. Depending on what your opinions of those movies are, going into this movie, it really could establish whether you're gonna come out with this movie like it or not, or you're really gonna hate the movies. Depending on what your outlook is on these movies, it's really a big gamble. There was a lot riding on this movie because of just what the response was critically and commercially for the previous two movies. So, what was your anticipation level like going into this movie? Were you looking forward to it, or is it just something that it's just another summer movie? What were your thoughts going into the movie, Sammy?
I was optimistic because I really wanted to see Wonder Woman. I really wanted to see how Gal Gadot or Gadot, tomato,
Yeah.
was gonna do. I don't know how she's gonna do, and I know Patty Jenkins was directing it. And she hadn't done anything since Monster, I believe. I don't think she's done anything
It's
between.
like 7 years ago.
I could be wrong, but she got Charlize Theron an Oscar,
Yeah.
so I was excited about that. It's like, okay, Hollywood, you're doing the right thing. You're getting big ideas and giving them to really good directors. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, Warner Brothers and DC made a great move doing that, and she was actually supposed to do a movie for Marvel. I believe she was gonna do Thor: The Dark World, and they ended up not going with her, and so they kind of skipped out on it. And she went over to Warner Brothers, and they offered her Wonder Woman, and she had been trying to make Wonder Woman for several years, but just never really happened. And her and Josh Whedon both actually were trying to make it, and Josh Whedon had a script for a long time, for almost 10 years, and he tried to make it happen, but it never came to be. But she's got a lot of history with Wonder Woman, this character, and she's a fan. So I think that's why I was pretty excited when they made the announcement, and it was about almost 18 months ago. And
people have been waiting for years for a Wonder Woman movie, even before they decided to rehash Superman.
oh yeah,
They wanted Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman doesn't get a lot of airtime, doesn't get a lot of play.
Yeah, she's mostly played like in animated movies and video games. She makes a lot of appearances in those. Of course, the comics. I mean, this year is celebrating 75 years of Wonder Woman, and I think it's pretty important. I mean, and this is even bigger than just the comic book character of Wonder Woman. This is the first superhero female lead standalone movie. I mean, notwithstanding, they made a Supergirl, and
Don't forget Catwoman.
Yeah, Catwoman. But on this type of caliber, where there's a big budget behind it, it's a bigger property, bigger director, bigger stakes, and especially for a lot of the fan receptions for Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, Suicide Squad, it wasn't great. They were very defensive, and so there's a lot of this movie is basically going up an uphill battle.
It needed to be good in order to sort of not solidify, but in order to sort of get the hopes up for the DC fans for the future movies, for Flash and for Justice League, especially Justice League. It just needed to be good. It needed to be a home run.
Yeah, it needs to hit it. It needs to establish a certain tone. It needs to be faithful to the character itself, and it also just needs to be, bottom line, needs to be a good movie, because a lot of people will just criticize. Yeah, there's some certain great parts of these characters in these prior movies, but a lot of it's debatable whether these are actually just good movies. And so, just going straight into it, I really liked this movie. I think it was really, really good. It was a faithful adaptation of the character. Great origin story. I like the settings of the movie. There are things in this movie when I was basically analyzing, dissecting it when I was watching it. I was like, I can see the influences of the creative team behind it. I can see all of Patty Jenkins all around the movie, as far as the actual direction, the story, the tone, and the character and the writing of it. And it's a well placed, thought out movie. It's as long as the other DC movies, but the way it establishes characters and it takes its time with them and building them up, you care a lot about these relationships a lot more. So, what are your first initial thoughts of the movie?
I mean, there's a certain thing that good superhero movies do. Whenever you see a good one.
So, what is your idea of a good superhero movie? What like, does anyone come up to mind?
Yeah. So, what it does is it makes you remember why we like superhero movies.
Yeah.
Right. So when I walked out of this movie, I agree with you. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a home run. I thought it did really well. There's a few things, problems that I had with it, but overall, I really liked it. And it makes you remember why we like superhero movies and why superheroes were made in the first place. It's to show that there are good, brave people in the world, and these are superheroes. And that's exactly what Wonder Woman is. Like, she is brave and she's innocent, and all she wants to do is help people. She has no other agendas, right? But to help people. And though it sounds a bit cheesy and not of this world, it really works for her. It really does.
Yeah, it really works. I mean, like the conceptualized idea of Wonder Woman. She is basically a daughter of the gods. She's created by, and this is all just forthcoming. Just to let you know, we're going to be we're not going to give any spoilers away, but we are going to talk about things that are in the trailer that kind of give you an idea of what the character is and what the motivations are.
Yeah, this is also her origins already.
Yeah, so this is her origin story. So we're going to go over some things, general information about her origin, to let you know what we liked about the character. That'll help explain what we liked and didn't like about the character, about the movie, and the direction it went. But yes, it is an origin story. It does start off in her homeland, Themyscira, and it kind of gets
Themyscira.
Themyscira, yeah.
The mascara.
Themyscira, yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so it takes place it starts off in her homeland, Themyscira, and it kind of gives you her upbringing and how the Amazonians and her mother and her aunt raise her, and how they train to be warriors. And this is all it's an all-female like a colony and an island that's well hidden outside the regular normal world that we know. And so they kind of paint the backdrop that there are these Greek gods, Zeus, Ares, and
that's the world they live in.
Yeah, that's the world that does exist, and it did exist, and that is how.
Yeah, they take that whole Greek mythology and then they apply it to the DC universe.
Yeah, DC, and which has been established in the DC universe in the comics, and so they're just adding that element to these movies. So now, when you go back and watch the other movies, it actually, when they reference things as to gods and man, it's not just throwing words out there. It does take place in this DC universe, so that's something that they could extend out in the future.
And I gotta say, the origin story of Wonder Woman was not boring.
No, it's not.
A lot. I feel as though a lot of origin stories, you just kind of feel like you know what's gonna happen, and it's just kind of, oh man, I know what's gonna happen. Uncle Ben's gonna die. Aunt May's gonna take him. All right, okay, I don't need to see this.
Yeah,
I don't really need to see this.
Yeah, they're played out.
They're so played out and they're so boring. But this one wasn't. Maybe it's because I didn't really know her origin story, but the action sequences are great.
Yeah,
in the beginning too.
Yeah, the action sequences are really great. So
a little CGI heavy.
Yeah,
but it worked.
Yeah, so they kind of do show her upbringing as to discovering her powers, and then there comes to the part where Chris Pine gets introduced.
The man washes up on shore.
Yeah, so he gets introduced to their world, and he's kind of, he's not aware of what's going on, his surroundings of who these people are, and Diana.
What is this island full of women that doesn't know that there's a war going on?
Exactly, and so
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so he's part of World War One. He was actually tacked on a mission, and something went awry, so he actually crash landed on our island, and that's where it pretty much just kicks off. The whole movie and the plot just moves forward from there. Yeah, but so going into that, did you notice anything as far as her homeland versus when the movie picks off and then they actually go back to conquer the world of World War One? Because the whole idea is she's trying to tackle the god of war, which is Ares, and the whole backdrop of the movie is World War One, which is Chris Pine's character is directly a part of because he's a soldier and a spy. So
I feel like not giving away too much. I feel like that it was a paradise. Their origin, their homeland is a paradise full of women, and I feel like they sort of lost their way in terms of like their main goal, because they established what their main goal is in the beginning. The Amazon women, what their main goal is, and then they sort of lost their way because they got sort of too comfortable with paradise. Right, that's what I kind of took away from it. Like, they don't say that directly in the movie, but that's kind of what I took away from it. And then when she gets pulled into the real world, it's just complete opposite. It's all mayhem, and everybody's killing each other.
Yeah,
there's death everywhere. Versus when she was on her homeland, they didn't even want her to train because they were like, you don't need to train. You can just hang out here and just hang out, do nothing.
Yeah, and also
don't worry.
Yeah, also in the part of that is because, of these gods, they actually do explain that Ares is the god of war, and so they were also worried because if she would train, she would then learn of her powers and how strong she is, because the stronger that she gets, Ares will be able to detect her and know that that she is around, because and that's without giving any spoilers away.
Yeah,
it goes into something else in the movie, but
and we don't really know. Like, it all sounds kind of dumb for a while. For in the beginning, like Ares, to me the women seem the Amazon people seem sort of ignorant of the outside world, because they've never been there.
Yeah, exactly.
They've never seen it.
Yeah, they don't know.
So it's great. It's awesome when she goes to New York. What is New York? No, not New York. What am I thinking? London. When she goes to London and she gets pulled into our world, like seeing that that sort of King Kong goes to the city, sort of fish out of water.
Yeah,
that part was great. It was so cool.
Exactly,
and it was funny.
And the part where they kind of like they're establishing the concept, they're telling you the concept idea. This is a war that's going on in my where I'm from, and then they. She kind of reflects on herself. They're killing men, children, babies.
Yeah.
And then he,
and she doesn't understand why are they killing each other.
Exactly.
Like, you don't need to kill each other because there's bigger things trying to kill you, and they just don't get each other. Chris Pine and Diana, dude, they don't get each other.
Yeah,
which is an important part of the movie.
Because they're from two different worlds.
They're seemingly fighting different wars.
Yeah, they are fighting different wars. Diana's war is much bigger in scale because she's talking about the whole idea of war.
And she's talking about gods.
Yeah, she's talking about the whole idea of war. And Chris Pine is just he's more grounded in his ability. He knows, he's thinking like man, like what we can control. We can't.
Humankind. Yeah.
One person cannot stop World War One. He's trying to get his agenda done, completed.
Trying to just live, trying to just survive.
Yeah,
one day at a time.
Survive, and also trying to get you follow the plans of the main antagonist in the movie.
Yeah. Right.
So, but one thing I wanted to talk about was Themyscira, their homeland. It's very vibrant. It's pretty. It's colorful. It's the blues are blue. There's sky deep blue.
Yeah, there was a lot of color, which was great because all the other DC movies are all dark and dreary, and
yeah, they are
cool. I mean, I guess that was like I guess that was popular. You know, that was a trend for like these new superhero movies. They got to be darker and got to be edgier. But this one, that Themyscira was all bright and colorful and it was beautiful to see.
Yeah, but and I noticed that once they go into the real world, it actually looks like those other movies. Like the palette really changes. It kind of gets a little bit more grayer.
Yeah,
it's not as dark as the Zack Snyder movies and David Ayer's Suicide Squad. It's not as dark as those movies, but you could definitely tell. And I think that's the contrast that the director Patty Jenkins wanted to give. Like Themyscira, it's a hopeful place. It's inspirational. There's no judgment. There's no war. There's no guilt. That place over there is like a paradise.
Yeah.
And then when we come to the real world, it's kind of darker because
she even says when they first get onto land, she says something like, "This is hideous." Or something like that.
Like this is this is London. It's hideous, and Chris Pine says, "Oh, well, it's not for everybody."
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
So yeah, and I was thinking that even her armor, it's a different alliteration. It's technically the same armor as the one that she used in Batman v Superman, but just the color palette of the armor, you could tell it really stands out from the whole backdrop from where she's at.
And the other soldiers.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a lot brighter red, a lot of brighter blues, golds, the whip, really, really bright gold. So I think that's like a symbolism part that she put in for this person to stand for light and heroism and to battle the dark and the dreary that's in our world.
Yeah.
Because she wants to put, more light. And I think that's something that it's a visual cue that the director put in there, and I'm adding this myself. I don't know if this is really what it was intended, but I believe that what it is, because you're trying to take something out of her world and inject it into here, and it doesn't quite mesh, and she really does stand out in the movie.
Obviously she stands out.
She stands out, especially in the armor, when she's in the full-fledged armor. So what did you think about the villains of the movie? Dr. Poison?
Well, before, because that's sort of a negative aspect. I don't like that. I didn't really like the villains. But before that, I wanted to talk about that scene that's in the trailer when she walks into No Man's Land.
Yeah,
dude, man, I got goosebumps.
You got goosebumps
in the theater when she was just walking. She was just walking towards the German cavalry.
Yeah,
and they were just shooting at her, and then she had the shield, and she hunkers down and she kneels, and then she allows. Like, she basically was a superhero right then. That's when oh shit, she's a superhero.
Yeah.
And got goosebumps all over. It was really well directed.
Yeah.
That scene particularly.
Yeah, I love that scene. It was
because I didn't think it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right before that happens, there's something that goes on where you're just like, yeah, Chris Pine's right. That's too dangerous.
Yeah.
And then she's like, what?
Yeah,
and then she just goes.
And she doesn't get the idea, and she thinks it's even more ridiculous because they call it, and Chris Pine's literally trying to beat it into her. You cannot go out there. That is no man's land. No man's land.
No man's land.
And they kind of beat it into, like, the audience, like, hey, but she's not a man. She's a woman.
Yeah, right.
And then she kind of but then in her mind, the way she deciphers our language, if no man can go cross in there, I'm gonna cross there.
Yeah,
and
right.
I am not a man. I am a woman, and not only that, but she's an enchanted woman. She's powerful. She's a demigod.
Right.
And so that's where she's fearless, and that's where her heroism comes in. And yeah, it's a stellar scene. It's awesome. It's definitely with either like Superman. Not Superman. Superhero reveal scenes or superhero movie scenes in movies. I think it's definitely in the top 5.
Definitely, man. It was so good. I mean, it's better than any scene that I've seen in all of the DC movies. With exception of some Dark Knight scenes, but I mean, it's definitely up top there.
Yeah, and I think that's what's good about these movies. I mean, Marvel has gotten really good at portraying a lot of these scenes, especially when the Avengers all group up and they all meet together, and it's real majestic, because you're just like, wow, all the Avengers grouped up together, one scene, and the camera pans over in a circle 360 degrees around the whole cast. Like, it's one of those hell yeah, like, awe-inspiring moments. And
right.
This movie had it with one single character, and it was equally, if not just as good as the Avengers
scene. And I think I want to say it's better because there's so oftentimes superhero villains and superhero antagonists are such big ideas. Like in the Avenger movies, like the gods are coming down. There's a whole black hole in the sky, and all these things are coming down, and they're from the universe, and you're like, okay, this is happening, this cool action, but she's in war. She's fighting a war.
Exactly.
And it hits home for everybody who's watching it because there's always war. There's war now going on now in the world. There's always war, and she's in it, and she's fighting real antagonists.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's part of the reason why I like this movie so much.
And that's a great point. I didn't actually think about that, but a lot of the other, like the scenario you just gave, the Avengers or every other superhero movie where they have their hero moment, they're fighting mostly. It's a fictional threat. It's like an alien invasion.
Another superhero, like they're fighting something that's not of this world.
Yeah, where World War One, it's in the record books. It actually happened.
She's fighting people.
Yeah, she's fighting people, and she's fighting. And then imagine like if somebody who actually was in a war, where they actually could not cross certain areas because of the dangers of gunfire, and people that would actually were in those situations would see something like that, and I bet you they would even think twice. Even I wanted to do that when I was in the war. I wanted to put, my gear on and cross that plane just so I can get into enemy lines and try to turn the tide.
And try to help all my companions.
Exactly.
Help my brothers.
So, I mean...
And then when she does that, she's helping her brothers. She's helping man. She's helping the world come back as a whole instead of breaking apart. And it was great.
Yeah, it's great, and I think Gal Gadot, for people who Gadot, it's Gadot.
It's Gadot.
Okay, okay. So like for people who are doubting her as Wonder Woman, especially with her first initial appearance in Batman v Superman, I liked her, and a lot of people even walked away from that movie, even though they may not have liked 2/3 of that movie. People mostly came away saying Wonder Woman was pretty badass. Her theme was badass. Her appearance was badass. She fought.
She did a great job.
Yeah. So as a character and as an actress, she played Wonder Woman really well. And so I think it's really, really cool to say that we actually have a Wonder Woman now. We actually have an established Wonder Woman actress. So no matter what movie they want to take her in or what kind of adventures, it's kind of like we don't have to worry about her casting. We don't have to worry about that aspect. That's really one of the most stressful points whenever a new superhero is announced. Who's going to play his part? Who is it going to be? And especially with the first time in Wonder Woman in a theatrical run, it's a hit. It's a home run. It's pretty cool.
I don't wear T-shirts often. I often wear button-up shirts, right, like this. I don't know why. It's just something.
You said like this, like they could see.
Well, yeah, because I'm talking to you. I always wear button-up shirts, and I have 2 superhero T-shirts that I own. One's is Wolverine, and one is of Batman. And I think I want to get a Wonder Woman T-shirt. Like after this movie, I loved her.
Yeah,
I was like, man, this is how badass she is. This is who Wonder Woman is. My whole life, I didn't know who she was. I mean, I knew who she was, but I didn't really follow her because there was nothing to watch. Yeah, nothing to read about her. Yeah,
she wasn't in the mainstream. Now she's gonna be in the mainstream. Now it's like she's in the forefront. She's gonna be in mainly a lot of the advertisements for the upcoming movies, and it's rightfully so. She definitely needs to be there. She's pioneering this movie franchise. I think it would be smart. To have her, have her presence very much in Justice League, have her presence be in that movie as much as Batman or any other main character, superhero, Superman, and so forth. So I'm just really excited for it. I'm happy for this movie. I'm happy for the fans. I mean, to me, this movie could have been fine, or it could have been. I really didn't want it to. I don't want it to be bad. I don't want any movie to be bad.
No, of course not.
But to me, I am not like a diehard where if this movie fails, like I'm gonna be depressed for a month. Like
that's exactly.
Like I don't have my heart and my faith that much into a movie and into a property. So I would have been completely fine because it's a movie. It's done. I think you can't change anything afterwards. We have no control over this. and so I'm really that makes me even happier to know that I went and saw it and I really enjoyed it, and I can rewatch this movie. It's
yeah, definitely.
It's not a it doesn't have to be like a guilty pleasure or anything. It's a good movie.
Yeah, there is. Having said that,
yeah, we're gonna go to the negatives.
Having said that, I do have problems with the villains. Like her main villains isn't just war. It's some other generals. It's some other things, and the villains could have been stronger. The villains could have been more fleshed out. I felt like because there's more than one villain. I felt like most of them were just generic, and I felt like that they just put them there because there has to be a villain. There has to be one bad guy that we have to look at. Let's look at this guy. Let's look at this woman. They're the bad guys. Okay, try to make them real. I don't know how to do that. Okay, well then, I don't know.
Well, I think, and I think that's what and it's a very fair criticism. And see, I think the villains were mostly there for plot device, to move the story forward, because they need to have the war. The war could have been enough of a factor already, but they need to establish. We can't have just the war be the backdrop and be the whole overall antagonist.
Right. They need to look at one person.
Yeah. They need to ensemble the war and put that idea and put it into a person, into a character on screen. So, I mean, we can say the names is Dr. Poison because they show
Dr. Poison, and what's that other guy? The other general, he played Stryker.
Yeah, William Stryker. Danny Houston, he played Ludenoff. Ludenoff, he was like the general or like one of the command officers.
He reminded me of a lot less cool Red Skull.
Yeah. He was...
I didn't even want to say he was fine.
Yeah,
like he was bad. He was a bad villain. Like because I didn't know enough about him.
Now there's some interesting things that happen in this movie with that character.
Yeah, for sure. There's interesting plot points and interesting stuff that happens with that character. But overall, I didn't give a shit about him.
I was gonna say something, but no, I think it would be too much of a thing. But
yeah, we can't.
I wouldn't want to spoil.
No, anything that happened in the third act, we can't talk about.
Well, we could talk about some things. I want to talk about. Well, I mean, it is confirmed. It is out there that the main antagonist is Ares.
Really?
Yeah.
I felt like that was a surprise. When that happened, I was like, "What? What's happening?"
Oh, you didn't know that?
I was like, "What's happening?"
Well,
no, I went into this blind.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I've read a few things about it, but I didn't really think that was gonna happen.
Oh, okay. Well, because the one reason why I know is because of general, knowledge of comics, just very general, and also I played the, again, big fighting game person, so I played the first Injustice, and he is an actual character that's selectable in the first Injustice game, Ares, and in the story mode, he actually has something directly with Diana and Wonder Woman.
Okay,
but there are a lot of things. We're not giving away story.
Yeah, I still think the general public wouldn't know that though.
Well,
but that's okay.
Okay, yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah, and you're still going to be in for a big surprise.
Oh,
because,
yeah, for sure.
Because you don't know how this character interacts with Diana or Wonder Woman in the actual fight sequence. So
if there is a fight sequence.
Yeah, if there is a fight sequence.
So I mean, I don't know. I felt like all the villains just didn't meet up. It just didn't match with the first and second act of the movie. I felt like the third act, when they really had that conflict, felt forced.
Well,
it felt sort of doomsday-ish, like at the end of Batman v Superman. It felt like that a little bit.
I don't think it
wasn't that harsh.
Yeah,
but it did feel like that a little bit.
I think it was kind of, they have to have something, to kind of push the action, have a big set piece.
Yeah, they got a big something. Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, it is a superhero movie afterward.
I felt like that whole, not the whole third act, but some of the third act, you can tell was Hollywood and not Patty Jenkins. You could tell you could tell like there's a lot of influences as to, you got to throw this in there, you got to throw that in there. I mean, just find a way to put it in there. Just do it. Yeah, you have to do it.
But
you want money, but do it.
But there's a lot of even though the movie does throw a lot more things at you in the third act, there's still a lot of I guess like excitement. There's a lot of especially what happens, you know, Chris Pine character and their whole they're trying to wrap everything up with his.
I love that team.
Yeah, the team that they assemble. It's really it's cool because they have, you know, they have that camaraderie with each other, and they have a good, you know, balance of who's in there, and they go through some things at the end of the second act, going into the third act, that makes this mission, you know, even more personal, and it drives it into it, and then, you know, it kind of just goes gun blazing, and then it settles down, and then when the dust settles, it's kind of like, you know, you're left with that idea of hope and optimism and heroism and things like that. So it's you know, there's certain, of course, no movie's perfect, and there's things that it could have been a little bit balanced out and could have been drawn back a little bit more in the third act, but overall I think it was, you know, it's fine. It's fine.
Overall, the movie was a success.
Yeah, it's success. I mean, really, you couldn't ask for anything more in a Wonder Woman movie. This can, you know, as far as, I don't think it could ever reach a Dark Knight level, especially in its first run. You know, the first time ever. I mean, without it, you know, there's no established characters yet. You're just starting from the ground up. They basically did everything that they needed to do in this one movie, and they did it right, which was really, really great. I mean, so hats off to everybody who was a part of this. And interesting enough, you know, Zack Snyder helped even write this movie, and also do a lot of help out with some of the action set pieces, which I could really tell in this movie, you know, and that's why I could see, you know, the influences from, you know, the collaborators, the set designers, you know, and a lot of this movie is basically kind of like a refresh from Batman v Superman, because they hired new producers, you know, for the next movies, Justice League and the upcoming Aquaman movies, to kind of get a more central focus of what direction they want to go with. So then, you know, it's not just all Zack Snyder's version and basically one tonal shift. You know, they want to have
collaboration.
Collaboration, and they want to have a general consensus of what these superheroes mean and what they are going to be going forward in their own individual movies. So I mean, this movie definitely does show it. I mean, it's definitely a little bit of a course correction from the previous movies, even though I personally like them, but I can definitely see how people were just like, you know what, this too different. I wasn't thinking of my superheroes could be like this. But overall, movie's great. Definitely, I suggest you go out and see it in theaters. Support this movie. Support Patty Jenkins, because she hasn't made a movie in about 7 years, and so for her to come back, that's a very long time. It's like coming out of retirement, coming out and doing some of your best work. So that's
on a big scale.
On a big scale, big budget. She didn't succumb to the pressure of Hollywood. She wanted to make the movie her way, and she did it. And it's a great thing for her. So hats off to that. So, Sammy, what would you any final thoughts, and what is your final score for Wonder Woman?
So, I think the reason why that you won the bet, why it made over 100,000,
100 million.
What 100 million? 100,000, 100 million.
Yeah, I could pay for that.
I don't think it would have made that much if it wasn't that good.
Yeah, no.
I think initially on Thursday and Friday when the movie came out, people were sort of skeptical. People like me who aren't really delved into the DC universe, was more of a Marvel person. Whenever those people saw, oh, it's got really good ratings, people really like it. What? 95 on Rotten? What? made them intrigued and made them want to see it. So I'm okay with losing because the movie was good. If the movie sucked and I still lost, man, that would have.
Oh man, yeah, that would.
And like, people, you. Oh my god.
And then I would say, you know what, keep your money. I wouldn't want to take it from you. It's like dirty money. It's blood money.
Yeah. So the only thing that's keeping me from giving this movie a high rating is the villains. I think the villains could have been better. Overall, everything was as a whole, like we said earlier, it's a home run. So I give it an A-.
A-. Okay, cool. So I guess my final thoughts, it's kind of to mirror yours. I'm really happy with the character, how it came out. I'm happy how they didn't convolute her or overcomplicate her origin. They established great chemistry. Chris Pine does a great job. All the actors give pretty good performances all around. The direction is good, and there are nuances, like I said, with the tonal color palette shift. there are little things, if you really pay attention, you can get a lot more out of this movie, and you dissect it and go in a little bit deeper. But just general sitting down, summer movie, Wonder Woman, you can't beat it. So, like you said, some of the things holding you back, like you, would be just a little bit of nitpicks here and there, and also the villains. So I went ahead and also gave it an A minus. So if it was the villains and everything was just wrapped up a little bit, maybe the movie was trimmed down maybe about another 7-10 minutes or so, I think I would give it a solid A. But
and a cool fact about that is Patty Jenkins says everything that she shot was put in the movie.
Yeah,
there's going to be no extended versions or anything because nothing had to be cut. Yeah, everything she shot was put in the movie.
And they did reshoots. So she did reshoots. Yeah, they did. But so then there was obviously something when they either tested for audiences. Or
maybe when she saw it, she didn't like it.
Or she had a great idea. She had just another great idea. Like, you know what? What if I stack this scene?
Actually, this is better.
Yeah.
And they reshot the No Man's Land scene.
Yeah.
The scene that we were raving about. That's the scene that they reshot, and it's obvious. I mean, I don't want to say it's obvious, but it's probably way better now than it was before. When she saw it on scene, her previous take, she was like, this needs to be better, and then she snapped in her head, I got it. We got to reshoot it.
And that's the good conscience of a good director. They know what they have, and they have a vision for it, and they just went out and did it.
Because
no compromise.
I felt like watching it. I felt like Patty Jenkins knew that scene was going to be the best scene in the movie, and so she didn't let it get to her. She just put her head down and needed to be the best scene because she knew it was going to be.
Yeah, and that turns the tide because after that scene's over, everything just ramps up. So
the movie turns upside down.
Yeah, the movie turns upside down. So it's not really about exploring Diana more. It's about her becoming Wonder Woman at that point. So again, we gave it an A minus. We think y'all should definitely go check it out. Support this movie. It's awesome. And so we're going to be. This does give us a better outlook as to what Justice League is going to be. So that gives me a little bit more optimism, more hype. Also, and hopefully they keep the purity of the character in Justice League. Hopefully, it is the same Diana that you can kind of see. I would hate to kind of go into Justice League and see Wonder Woman and be like, she wasn't really like that in the original Wonder Woman. Right. I want her. I hope they keep that tone, which I think they are because they're all collaborating together since the release of Batman v Superman. So they've been trying to get everything tight and all work together. So I have a lot more confidence in everything going forward. And so it's just a great time to be a superhero fan, a Wonder Woman fan, and a DC fan, and
Patty Jenkins fan.
So they're already kind of confirmed or tied to do a sequel. So I mean, a lot to look forward to. So again, guys, we appreciate you coming in, listening to us here at Top Tier Show. You can follow us at Tier Show on Twitter. If you want to reach out to us, you can reach me at XXYourDisease. Sammy, what is your Twitter handle? How people can
you can follow me on Twitter at Hugo House.
Hugo House. So that's HUGO and then HOWS?
Yes.
All right, cool. You can also send us an email over at toptiershow2017@gmail.com. We'd be happy to answer, or if you take any type of requests, anything you'd like to know about us, we would be happy to answer and interact with our audience. So do please hit us up. So we appreciate you guys listening again, and we'll see you next time.